What's up, Lunatics? Lune here with Lunatic Reactions, and some of you may have already seen my post about this, but technology, I tell you, due to a software quirk, I don't know what happened, somehow my audio input got switched on its own. Anyway, I did record in one sitting my reaction to the entire Lunario concert, but none of my audio was picked up. The audio for the music was, and obviously the video of me reacting is, but any of my commentary, nothing. Which, was a bit of a disappointment because the plan was to release that as a full concert reaction video on Patreon as an exclusive, and then release these individual videos where I paired up my reaction to the live with my reaction to the studio version. So I am still going to do the studio version, and I'm going to show my reaction to the live performance in the Lunario concert. I just won't have my immediate commentary after having listened the first time. It won't have that. And I'm not doing the full concert video Patreon exclusive because I don't have that. I'd have to go back in and re-record it, and it's just not the same as, a continuous, authentic first listen reaction. I'm just gonna go ahead and do these individual videos. We're gonna get started. The concert opens with Dust to Dust, which is the first song on the Queen of the Murder Scene album. And then the second song of the concert is actually not on the Queen of the Murder Scene album. There's a couple of songs that are off the 21st Century Blood album. And the second song is Unmendable. And so for this video, I'm going to do my reaction to both of those, because Dust to Dust I've already heard in the Pepsi Center reaction. I have not heard the studio version, though. And then Unmendable, my first time, is the Lunario concert, and I'm going to be checking out the studio version as well in this video. As for lyrics go, well, for Unmendable, since it's not part of the Queen of the Murder Scene album, I will take a look at those lyrics. But for the Queen of the Murder Scene album, I do believe I touched on the Dust to Dust lyrics in my original reaction to that, but for the rest of the album and these performances, I'm not going to really go into the lyrics because I'm going to, since it's a concept album, at the end of everything, I'm going to do a lyrical analysis deep dive on it, and, that'll be in one video, because I feel like these lyrics deserve that kind of respect to really take my time with them, rather than just kind of spitballing thoughts after one listen. So that'll be done after all the individual videos are out. As a reminder, the individual videos can be viewed early the day before. I should even maybe get some of them up a couple of days before on Patreon for the paid members of the Certified Lunatic tier. And shout out to Mike and Edgar for being my Certified Lunatics. You guys are awesome. Now, as for the Lunario concert, I did watch the entire introduction with them, traveling to the venue and, doing their sound checks and everything. So I did watch all that, but I'm not going to include that in this video because there's really not much of me reacting. I'm just watching it. I didn't think that was worth including in this video. I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments telling me, like, no, we would have watched it with you, but I'm making that call. So I am going to start it, just as the concert is beginning. So once again, the concert begins with Dust to Dust, and then off of 21st Century Blood, Unmendable. Without any further ado, let's just get into that.
we shall start again. Dust to dust, our bones are rust, and we shall start again. Dust to dust, our bones are rust, and we shall start again. Dust to dust, our bones are rust, and we shall start again.
Estamos increíblemente contentos de estar aquí. Muchas gracias por venir. Muchísimas gracias. Le queremos dar gracias rápido a Lunario por invitarnos, a Sally por nuestros looks, Sally Beauty de hoy. Muchas felicidades a Jet Jaguar por su show. ¿Y están listos para un super show hoy? Este será un show muy especial para nosotras porque vamos a estar estrenando por primera vez todo nuestro nuevo disco, The Queen of the Murder Scene. Yes. Y bueno, voy a hablar inglés un poquito porque tenemos invitados de fuera esta noche. So, thank you very much to everyone who came from the United States and all over the world to watch us tonight. It really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for all your support. We love you, thank you! 1, 2, 3, 4! You all act so innocent, you took our minds to get into your life of sin. You all play your little games, you try to act and to pretend. Oh no, you kill lovers and betray friends. Tears are running down our face, all of your words were always safe, and you were always fake. You were never nice to us, your lies were never good enough. Like fools, you just say time we make amends and then we fight. Silently you start to lie. This has become a war and you won't stop until we fall, until we're all gone. Oh, you left and you killed what we had. Oh, don't come close, guess you stabbed us in our back. When you roll the loud with no one to hold, don't come near 'cause we won't be here. You left us lost and we gave you trust. You left 'cause you chose them over us. It's unmendable for better or for worse. You'll get what you deserve. It's unmendable for better or for worse. You'll get what you deserve. It's unmendable for better or for worse. You'll get what you deserve. It's unmendable for better or for worse. You'll get what you deserve. When you roll the loud with no one to hold, don't come near 'cause we won't be
So that was my reaction to the live performance of Dust and Unmendable. And, I really enjoyed watching that live performance. And my initial reaction, my thoughts afterwards, I commented on the fact that, so this is when Ale was 13, Pao was 16, and Danny was 18, if I have the ages correctly. And, what? What were you doing at 13? Probably not this. I know I wasn't. 16, 18 either. I was probably in my room playing video games, all those ages. So yeah, just incredible. And the thing obviously that stood out to me was Ale's bass playing. It's just so good. I love, and all these songs are going to be with the 4-string because it doesn't, they're not the heavier style songs that they have done more recently with Ale having the 5-string bass. And, I do like the heavy stuff too, but these songs, specifically, the first time I heard Dust to Dust, I might have mentioned this, and then Unmendable, the punk influence is very present, and I'm going to be repeating that theme throughout this concert, as well as, just talking about what potential influences Ale has had as a bass player. I hear a lot of Mike Dirnt from Green Day. We can get into that as we keep going through this concert, and I do want to now just get to the studio versions of Dust to Dust and Unmendable. I'm just going to play both of them back to back like I did with the live, and then I'll give my thoughts. Dust to Dust, I already gave my thoughts on that, in the first video, and just now it's a great song. So I'm going to spend most of my time focused on Unmendable and going over those lyrics since it's not part of the Queen of the Murder Scene album. So, without any further ado, let's get into the studio versions.
fall until we're all gone. Oh, you lived and you killed what we had. Oh, don't come close 'cause you stabbed us in our backs. When you're all alone with no one to hold, don't come near 'cause we won't be here. You left us lost when we gave you trust. You left 'cause you chose them over us. It's unendable for better or worse, you'll get what you deserve. It's amendable for better or worse, you'll get what you deserve. It's amendable for better or worse, you'll get what you deserve. It's amendable for better or worse, you'll get what you deserve. When you're all alone with no one to hold, don't come near 'cause we won't be here. You left us lost when we gave you trust. You left 'cause you chose them over us. It's amendable for better or worse, you'll get what you deserve. It's amendable for better or worse, you'll get what you
Alright, so those were the studio versions of Dust to Dust and Unmendable. I'm not going to spend too much time on Dust to Dust, but I will say that, in the case of both these songs, actually, the live, I don't know, maybe, not that these were bad quality studio version songs. Like, if I had gotten this CD, I'd be, rocking these songs, obviously, or these CDs. And I say CDs as if that's still how people consume albums. I'm thinking back to when I was younger and would have been, getting music. If I had had this, I would have been throwing in my CD player all the time. That being said, I think with the live performances, I think there's just a production value step up because, I don't know what type of studio situation they were working with in these early albums, but, there's definitely, certain things come through clearer, especially, and not to harp on this, but especially the bass comes through a lot clearer in the live performances. And, that can be, sound engineering, acoustics in the building, how the concert was recorded, all sorts of different factors, the bass that's being used. But both songs, still very good studio versions, and, the punk influence is definitely very present in a lot of these songs on these early albums. I really enjoyed these songs, and as you'll see, I've enjoyed pretty much the whole concert, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to take a look at the lyrics for Unmendable and just come back with my brief thoughts on that. Alright, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the lyrics, but they're pretty straightforward. It seems to be, about someone from the past that did them wrong. You kind of get the vibe that it was a friend. Maybe it's that friend that told Pow they would never make it as a drummer, or whatever it was that friend said that made Pow write. What song was that? I forget. I'm sure it'll remind me in the comments. Definitely there's this, there's been this break between them and this person, and, it's unmendable. It's not going to be fixed. There's no way to fix this rift between us. It's what you did. It severed it. That's pretty much the message of the song. Like I said, don't want to spend too much time on it. As for my overall rating, so Dust to Dust, you can check my overall rating in my original reaction to that. For Unmendable, really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the punk vibe to it, and to think that that's from even younger than the Queen of the Murder Scene album, and younger than for Dust to Dust, like, just the insane talent to have that young and to put out, I think about, some of my favorite bands and their early releases, and, I know, it's a different time period, and, there's a lot more access to quality recording equipment, so that has a lot to do with it, but I'm just, like, comparing the sounds of these, albums that they're making as teenagers to the sounds of like, Green Day's music that they made as teenagers. Obviously they were making that in the 80s, but still. So yeah, I really enjoyed Unmendable, and I'm going to have to give that a 10 out of 10. So that was part 1 of my reaction to the Lunario concert, and I will continue releasing individual videos I might combine a couple more songs, but I will be doing the combination live and studio reaction. Like I said, unfortunately it didn't work out quite the way I wanted to, but we're still going to have plenty of reaction to The Warning to come, and I look forward to talking to all of you all about this album, and I really look forward to doing this lyrical deep dive and getting to kind of go into this story that's being told in this album. If you've enjoyed this reaction, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to see more of my reactions to The Warning, check out the playlist. If you want to see more of me, hit that subscribe button. And if you want early access to all videos, plus exclusive content and priority requests, sign up for the Patreon. Till next time, I'm Lune. This is Lunatic Reactions. Take care.